Welcome everyone to Film Review. Today we're going to be talking about the glorious, the long-awaited Dune Part 2. I saw it on Friday in IMAX, and to summarize, it was the greatest movie experience of my life. It is one of the best science fiction movies of all time. I would personally put it up there with some of the greats, like Empire Strikes Back, Terminator 2. I mean, it really is, in my opinion, it really is that good. So we'll get into everything. There are a couple gripes I have with the movie. Didn't ruin it for me, just changes from the book. For context, I have read the book only once, but I really, really loved it. And it was only a year ago that I read the book for the first time, and it really stuck in my mind, all the scenes that did happen, that didn't happen. But overall, I think this is an unbelievable movie experience. You have to see this in IMAX. If you don't see it in IMAX, I don't think you're doing justice to what the movie is, because the movie was filmed 100% in IMAX with IMAX cameras, which is almost never done these days. So see it in IMAX. I highly recommend it, just to get that out of the way. This is going to be sort of a review, sort of a rant on how much I love this movie. So for context, Denis Villeneuve is my favorite working director. I think ever since I saw Prisoners in 2013 in the theaters, I was just blown away, and I followed his career ever since. And when I saw Blade Runner 2049, it's solidified. He is my favorite working director because I just love his grounded approach to science fiction, and he's heavy on atmosphere and visuals, but I don't think he ever really sacrifices too much of the story or the characters either. I think he's just a brilliant director, and with Dune Part 2, he's taken everything that you love about the first one, and to me, just turned the dial up to 11. I mean, the action is better, the atmosphere is better, the story, in my opinion, is more engaging. There's a little less exposition and more just, there's more happening on screen. The visuals are mind-blowing. I mean, it's almost hard to distinguish between what is a miniature, what's CGI, and what's real. Everything just blends seamlessly in this movie. The director of photography, Greg Fraser, in my opinion, is the greatest working director of photography in the business. He is unbelievable. This movie is a work of art, and seeing it in IMAX it was the best movie experience of my life, truly. And I actually started this YouTube channel because of the first Dune movie, 2021, that is. That really blew my mind. I thought it was the best movie I had seen since, I don't know, in 10 years. I mean, it was just incredible. Just the world building, as an adaptation, it was pretty good as far as adapting what was in the book. And, of course, they left out some stuff. The Mentats kind of got sidelined. Unfortunately, they didn't have guild navigators, which they don't have in Part 2 either. I'm trying to keep this spoiler free for the most part. If you haven't read the book or seen the movies or from the past or anything, I don't want to spoil anything really, because I want you guys to see this movie. But yeah, Dune Part 1 really inspired me to do this YouTube channel, to make a channel where I can talk to you guys about movies that I love. And Dune Part 1 was one of them. It's probably one of my favorite movies ever. And Dune Part 2 is not only better, it's much better than Dune Part 1. Denis Villeneuve has just taken everything and just turned it up to the max. I mean, he's improved in every way from the first movie. And this is a direct continuation from the first one. It picks up almost exactly where Dune Part 1 leaves off. And I know some people had problems with the ending of the first one because it kind of ends abruptly, where they're in the desert, and they had just met the Fremen, Stilgar. Paul has just killed Jameis to prove himself, as kind of set in motion the Kwisatz Haderach narrative. And so it picks up directly where the first one left off, and it is definitely technically one movie in two parts. I mean, if you watch, I feel like when this comes out in DVD, you're going to be able to watch it right through. It's probably like 5.5 hours, a long watch. but it will feel like one continuous story, and it's mind-blowing. So let's get into some specifics about, first of all, the visuals. Like I said, unbelievable. I don't think I've ever seen a movie in theaters that was so convincing. To what I was seeing on screen, it looked like it was actually happening. Like, it looked like they weren't effects. Like, they were actually just recording things that were happening in real life. That's how good it is. They had a budget of $190 million, which, pretty hefty budget, but they used every single cent. It looks like a movie that would have cost $300 million. It is truly a work of art on screen. So the visuals, 10 out of 10. Perfect. So let's go on to the performances. Almost everyone was incredible. Almost. Timothée Chalamet is genius as Paul Atreides, and he gives a performance that I will remember forever. There's certain scenes in this to where he's kind of a changed person during the latter half of this movie. And the way Timothée Chalamet conveys that is really, really good. Really well done. I didn't know if he had the acting chops to pull that off, but I was wrong. Timothée Chalamet deserves all the credit. He did an amazing job as Paul Atreides, and I would say, not to spoil anything, but an even better job as the Kwisatz Haderach. Unbelievable. Gurney Halleck makes a return, which is awesome. Josh Brolin was fantastic as Gurney. Get to see him play the Balicet, which was sick. So no complaints there. Baron Harkonnen, freaking awesome. Just an amazing performance by Skarsgård. Then we have Austin Butler, which is one of the standouts in this movie. Not a spoiler or anything, but about an hour into the movie, we go to planet Giedi Prime, which is the planet of the Harkonnens. And Austin Butler plays Fade Rautha, who is the nephew of the Baron Harkonnen. And my goodness, Austin Butler deserves an award, I think, for his performance in this movie. He's a complete psychopath. And that is exactly what Fade Rautha is. He's a complete lunatic. But there are certain scenes with him that are just bone-chilling. He is a true master. Unfortunately, I haven't really seen Austin Butler in anything since Zoe 101. Yeah, he was a Nickelodeon star. I didn't know that either. And I went back and was like, oh my God, that's really him? That's Austin Butler? Yeah, so I haven't seen anything with him in it. I didn't see Elvis. I didn't see any of the other movies that he's done yet. But this makes me want to, because he was unbelievable. Truly, when you watch it, you'll know what I mean. Unbelievable. The casting was amazing. Rebecca Ferguson as Jessica, even more sinister and manipulative in this in Dune Part 2 than she was in Dune Part 1. She's the cast of this movie, for the most part. I'm going to get into one issue I had with the casting, but the casting for the most part was phenomenal. One of the best casts of any movie that we've seen in years. Years. Truly great stuff all the way around, except for Zendaya. It's not that she was bad. She was serviceable, but not ideal. I think they should have hired someone that was a little more capable, that brought a little bit more gravitas to the role of Chani. And like I said, it's not that Zendaya was bad per se. It's just that I feel that she doesn't have the acting chops to really bring Chani's role into what it could be. I think she could have been replaced with just about any actress, and it would have been fine. So that's one issue I had, and it didn't ruin the movie for me. Just to be clear, it didn't ruin the movie. I just thought that maybe they could have cast someone that is a little bit more suited for that kind of role. I think Zendaya gets cast a lot lately because of she's the big star. She's very popular in Hollywood, and I think she's fine in some stuff, but she was just okay here. Didn't blow me away. So, it is what it is. So casting, visuals, amazing. The pacing of the movie is a little scattered, just because it's a little bit longer movie than Part One, and there's so much ground to cover in Dune Part Two. Um, if you read the book, you know exactly what I'm talking about, and they didn't even get to like half of what actually happens. They got the main things of the latter half of the book, like the main beats of the story. They captured it, and they captured it perfectly, I thought. But there are things missing, and this is where I get into some of the little gripes I have as an adaptation. I think it as a movie, as just what I saw on screen, probably 10 out of 10. Like I literally don't remember the last time I was that enthralled, staggered by a movie. I mean, I walked out of the theater like shell shocked. Like, what did I just witness? That was unbelievable. So, as a movie, if you haven't read the books, if you don't know the story of Dune, um, then this is going to floor you. This is going to absolutely floor you. For me, as someone who's read the book and knows how dense the lore is, some of the stuff they didn't get to was kind of a shame. Mentats were pretty much out of it entirely, which is a shame. If you don't know, Mentats in the Dune universe are basically human computers, because thinking machines are not in this universe. They basically had what's called a Butlerian jihad, where they fought all the AI, basically thinking machines. So in Dune, you're never going to see a machine that has like a mind of its own. They're all just like, analog machines. But like Thufir Hawat from the first movie is a mentat. When he like rolls his eyes back and does like the calculations and stuff from the first movie, he's a mentat, a human computer. But we don't see Thufir Hawat in this movie, which was kind of a shame, because although it's a small part in the book, he does have a role to play in the book. So the fact that he was completely missing in action was a bit of a shame. But then we get to just other scenes that happen in the book that I thought would have added to the narrative a little bit more, given the audience a little bit more to kind of grasp onto lore-wise and character-wise. I think some of the characters get sidelined as far as their development, because in reality, you're making a movie. It's 2 hours and 46 minutes, so it's already a very long movie. I thought the pacing was as good as it could have been for that kind of material that they have to cover. But inevitably, things are going to be left out that probably shouldn't have been, but they had to make that decision in order to make a movie that's not 6 hours long. So it is what it is. I can accept it. And then as far as just some other maybe issues that I had, again, none of this ruins the movie for me at all. It's just things that in my inner Dune fanboy spirit I would have loved to have seen. The ending of the movie does feel a bit rushed. So we get to a big battle at the end at Arrakeen, and it was like 5 minutes of a giant war going on, and it's glorious. And then boom, right to the last parts of the movie, and I was like, whoa, that was really quick. Like, that was really quick. So I thought it would have been cool to just kind of maybe linger on that battle a little bit more, give us a little bit more action. But to be fair, there's action sprinkled throughout the entire movie, more so than Part 1. I mean, there's guerrilla warfare with the Fremen, and oh my goodness, I can't believe I didn't even mention Stilgar, Javier Bardem. So let's go to the Fremen, because the first hour of this movie is basically just Paul with the Fremen, learning their ways, learning who Chani is too, and their relationship, which was handled very well. Even though I'm not like a huge Zendaya fan, she did okay. She did okay with the romance. It didn't feel forced. It was sweet. It was nice, and it was handled in a way that didn't feel cheesy. But the first hour is him just learning how to be a Fremen, because he has no idea what he's doing. He thinks he knows how to do the sand walk, which is like a way to walk in the desert so that the worms don't come and devour you, because any repetitious movements and vibrations will cause a worm to come. But Paul is just learning. He doesn't know how to do it, so Chani has to teach him how to sand walk properly. And they're really cool. It's probably my favorite part of the movie is the first like hour and a half. The second half is awesome, don't get me wrong, but Everything in the first hour and a half I thought was like pitch perfect, truly unbelievable, and especially even from the book to the movie. I thought it was unbelievable. But yeah, Javier Bardem as Stilgar was inspired. He's really the one who is convincing, or at least trying to convince everybody, all the rest of the Fremen, that Paul is the Lisan al Gaib. He is the chosen one to lead them into the Holy War. But Javier Bardem's performance is amazing, amazing, from an actor who already has an amazing career. No Country for Old Men. He was in one of the James Bond movies. I mean, he's been around forever, and he's always good. He's always good. But in this, he's amazing. So, unbelievable performances, unbelievable first hour and a half of the movie, and I really just it blew me away. I had high hopes for this movie, and then I went and saw it and walked out of the theater and was like, that completely shattered my expectations. I think truly this is one of the greatest science fiction movies of all time, and it will be talked about for years. And I know book purists are going to have some issues. So don't get me wrong, if you've read the book, you know what I'm talking about. There are some things missing, a lot of things missing, and some things that are changed. There's a character whose entire existence in this movie is, from a timeline perspective, is changed quite a bit. However, I think the way they handled that character is actually very smart. And I think it's probably the best that we were going to get as far as making that character not seem corny and weird. Weird in a bad way, I mean. But the way they handled it was really good. So for the most part, I would say that Dune Part 2 is literally one of the best movies I've ever seen. One of the best science fiction movies ever made. And you have to see this movie. I can't think of a single other movie that I'm interested in seeing this year. I don't really care. For me, this was what I've been waiting for so many years. Ever since I saw the David Lynch Dune, when I was a teenager, I was like, this universe is so cool. And then I read the book, saw the first movie, and I was hooked. And it literally caused me to create this YouTube channel because I was so inspired by the universe and the world of Dune, and the message of. So let me end on this. The message of Dune, for those who haven't read the books, just know it's not the classic hero's journey. It's not necessarily good guys versus bad guys. Paul is not necessarily the hero. Frank Herbert wrote Dune to be a warning against messianic figures and charismatic leaders, and how sometimes they can manipulate to try and get what they want in order to take control of the masses and fool them. So that's what this movie really dives into, the character of Paul, and how he's totally conflicted as to whether he wants to embrace his role as the Lisan al Gaib, as they call him, like chosen one, or if he really, because he likes these people, they're his friends, but at some point he realizes that he's maybe unintentionally manipulating them in order to get revenge on the Baron for killing his family. And so it's a very complex movie. Dune is a very dense universe, both lore-wise, character-wise, and so I would say if you want perfect Dune, if you want Dune done absolutely perfectly, go read the book, because it delves into a lot more things that in a movie you just can't get to. This would have to be, if you were to have all the details from the first book, it would have to be like a 3-season HBO Max TV series, which I don't really, my thing is movies. I like movies more than TV shows, so for me this will suffice. But if you want perfect Dune, read the books, because they really are incredible. But I think this movie will inspire young people who want to get into movie making, who see this, and this is their Star Wars. You know, for my generation, and for the older generations too, seeing Star Wars was revolutionary. It blew everyone's mind. They had never seen anything like it. This, I think, will be the Gen X version of that, to where it inspires young people to delve into the imagination and create new things we've never seen before. And I think it is inspiring. It's a staggering movie from the visual standpoint. I've never really seen anything quite of this scope. The scope that he captures is immense. The worlds, the spaceships coming in, and the way he films the desert is just, it's like a painting on screen. I could probably rant for another 40 minutes about this movie. I'm not going to. So what I'm going to do is cut it off here for now. But I do want to do a spoiler review of Dune Part 2 for those, give you guys a chance to see it. I'm going to see it again in about a week in IMAX because I have to, and it's just that good. Support this movie if you really enjoy it. It's looking like it's probably going to do about $81 million domestically this weekend, which is awesome because it deserves every penny. I wish nothing but success for Dune Part 2, and I really hope that people go see this movie, and I'm really excited to hear you guys' thoughts. So leave comments down below. Let me know what you thought of Dune Part 2 if you've seen it. If you haven't, go out right now and watch it in IMAX. You have to watch this movie in IMAX. So anyway, thank you for tuning in. I'll catch you later.